Welcome back once again, and we've already seen two teams in this week's EU Relegations, or at least this split EU Relegations. We get to see the other two now in Papis versus Victorious Secret.
Yeah, it's time to see if the Papis can defend their spot in the SPL that they've worked so long to get, and honestly, with the level of play they showed during the summer split, I expect them to. This is a team that grew pretty significantly during their time in the SPL. Just a matter of if they can apply it here today.
Well, it's the battle of the Misters today, because the only roster change to the Papis was MrNazer in the mid lane for the Papis. And Victoria's Secret, they have a Mister of their own. Mr. Stefan is in the mid lane. So who is the better Mister, I guess, is going to be the big one today.
We'll have to wait and see. Mr. Stefan, despite not being in the SPL, definitely is a name that has some clout around him right now. I mean, he's a guy who played really, really well in previous relegations during Season 4. His Vulcan is the kind of the standout performer there for him in the mid lane. Don't be surprised if you see that Victoria's Secret doesn't pick that Vulcan in the top 3. I expect that to get banned out in the second ban phase.
Now, very important today for all these teams, because you'll play each team once.
Yes.
And basically, you're after 2 wins should pretty much put you through. 2 losses, different story. Pretty much puts you out and relies on other teams also following suit and losing multiple games.
New Game Plus already, not off to the start that they wanted, but I mean, Burrito Esports 1 win away basically from qualifying into the SPL.
And then you can see New Game Plus and Burrito, they took it on a little bit earlier on. They've still got plenty more games to go, but Papis basically have a double header here, because they're going to go from Victoria's Secret, and then straight after that, they're up against Burrito, who just won that last game. So very telling games for the Papis here. And obviously coming into this one, we've not really spoken too much about Victoria's Secret, but we mentioned Mr. Stefan in the mid lane. FrostiaK, you remember that name in the jungle? His longtime partner, Shadow Nightmare, retired, moved away from the scene, and in doing so, FrostiaK is now without his usual mid lane partner,
I know.
And he's on a different team.
Shadow Nightmare played for a little bit without FrostiaK on Lion Guard, then said he was done, so now it's FrostiaK's turn to try and find his new mid lane partner. Mr. Stefan's certainly a promising player, and this is kind of what I like to see, is where a veteran player like FrostiaK, who's been around the scene, who knows how to teach a player how to play mid lane, meets up with a talented young mechanical player like Mr. Stefan and can kind of show him the ropes. Let's see if Victoria's Secret has kind of done that through the practice and can make it work here today.
Well, picks and bans time. Let's get straight into it. We'll see the Papis will be first pick up against their opposition, Victoria's Secret here. Obviously, a lot of talk has been around, you know, how these teams are mechanically, but realistically, a lot of changes happening mid-season, and a lot of those changes can impact your play styles based off what you already know. So where are we looking here? I'm hearing a lot of talk about late game.
Late game is definitely what everyone's looking for, and so far with these bans, Odin now by the Papis.
But that's early game, Odin.
That's early game, but that late game cage can be so impactful, and it opens up the door for a Hell pick potentially, which can be very late game, also impactful in the early stages. Wouldn't be surprised here if Papis. It's just so risky to first pick.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was thinking.
Like,
what's on the table? There's like Circuit still available. Osiris is still pretty good as well. Obviously, anything that's got a way to move her healing for a small amount of time at least is very useful.
Cullen has some innate anti-heal built into that kit, and he's just a strong pick right now regardless. People kind of forget that on that barbed spear you get some anti-heal as well.
Skadi going to be locked in for Victoria's Secret. We saw Game Hunter on it earlier on. And we also saw, I believe, Murder was on the Geb too.
So it's the New Game Plus duo.
Sort of duo lane here. Geb is very late game, and that's the big thing. His early lane phase isn't good, but if you wanted a late game Guardian, in my eyes, Geb's definitely one of the ones definitely pushed himself forward.
Surprised that Ravana wasn't the other pick there, though. Skadi Ravana, I think, would have been my preferred 2 picks, but instead it's going to be Ravana Ram here for Papis. Early to mid game for the Ravana that kind of hands the ball off to the Ram in the late game. I like where this draft is going for Papis.
Erlang Shen locked in immediately by Victoria's Secret now up against that. Why interesting?
It's a strong pick. I think it's a good. Erlang Shen is an undervalued warrior right now, in my opinion. But this does feel a little bit early for me to pick Erlang Shen. It does have some counters. Those anti-heal that we talked about up against Hell work very well against Erlang Shen as well. Could be jungle here. I think Erlang probably best in the jungle right now. He brings excellent early game pressure, can transition well into the late game, become that CC setup god. A little bit less damage than Ravana in the early game, but a little bit more setup in the late. So you've got a little bit of a trade-off there between these 2 warrior jungles.
Bit of respect from Papis there in the counterban phase. They do take away that Vulcan, which we spoke about Mr. Stefan playing very well. He's going to default to Thoth instead, and MrNazer is well known over in the EU for his Thoth play.
Yeah, I love this pick. Mr. Stefan, if he's not playing Vulcan, he's usually playing Thoth. And with how much setup Victoria's Secret has already, Erlang Shen and Geb, that's a lot of knockups, that's a lot of AoE control in order to set up for that final judgment.
Janus last pick. We spoke about late game, and Janus, let's be honest, he's a late game mage that can one-shot people, but lot of people spoke about his early mid is very weak, very hard to confirm damage.
Takes a lot of time, and that's going to be Batz. So not Erlang Shen in the jungle. That is going to be the solo up against Bellona. Probably waiting. That's probably a flex pick there for Victoria's Secret. Waiting to see if they want to put that in jungle or in solo, depending on the matchup. Bellona can get knocked up during Bludgeon. Erlang Shen, one of the easier knockups to confirm in the solo lane, so instead going for a little bit more damage and still some control in that jungle with the Batz.
Definitely seen a lot of people defaulting to potential 2 warriors in their game, you know, 1 solo, 1 in the jungle as well. Is that something we could continue to see? But warriors aren't the greatest late game compared to some assassins.
No, but it gets you to the late game, and the mid game is incredibly strong for warriors. Even with this recent Gladiator shield nerf, only 10 protections off of it, I believe, in terms of overall change to Glad Shield. That item is still absolutely insane. 1,700 gold, you're getting physical power, physical protection, 10% CDR, and you're healing based on your max HP and mana for every god you hit with abilities. So gods like Erlang Shen, like Bellona, they're going to be hitting multiple gods with their abilities, and on fairly low cooldowns as well, can really make use of this item.
Well, it's blinks versus sprints in this game, that's for sure, because you can see 2 sprints for the Papis and the solo lane for Creed, and on Dracomarino on that Terra. Meanwhile, the jungler, FrostiaK, for Victoria's Secret, he's going to be taking the blink along with LanceWolf on that Geb. Shows that Geb is going to play a little bit more aggressive, looking to potentially be a secondary engage, if not primary, to the Batz by taking that so early.
I really like that idea. You're going to get beads with one of those 2 blink ultimates, so you're going to try and capitalize off that once one of these 2 engages.
Very surprised to see Victoria's Secret back away here in their own jungle. In one sense I am, but in the other sense it is a Bellona and a Ravana. Their level 1 is definitely going to outplay a Batz and an Erlang Shen in the early game. But they do get the back Harpies, so they get some experience from the jungle.
But not going for the blue buff. Smart decision by Victoria's Secret. Instead, go to lane, get that guaranteed farm. As you mentioned, you're not going to win the level 1 fight. Make sure you get level 2 early here. And I love this from the Papis, though.
Yeah.
Giving MrNazer the speed, because Dheylo already picked one up on the right side. This means that Warchi can take that red and still be happy in the early game. MrNazer already the best rotations available for Janus in the mid lane. Now he's got a speed buff. Good luck catching this guy.
Now, Warchi did manage to get the babies at that purple camp on the left. Not with too much in the way of experience, but denies a little bit from Victoria's Secret. However, 3 members of Victoria's Secret grouped around the Oracles. They're going to pick those up for free, as the Papis will pick up these left-hand Harpies. And this is actually accelerating Warchi getting to late game by having nobody in his lane from the start.
Just getting that solo farm, as long as he can stay safe. And up against Geb and Skadi, Skadi's really terrifying, yes, but in the early game, Skadi's damage isn't quite there yet. Needs to ramp up in terms of that base damage that comes through. It's really more towards the later stages when she starts to max out that permafrost, maxes out that piercing cold, that damage really starts to become relevant.
So when's the real time for the Papis to be looking to fight? Because they did draft that Ravana early on, and we mentioned how Ravana is very early to mid-game focused. Should we be looking for potential ganks from Dheylo early on in this game?
I think that it could be a lot of counter-engaging, or Dheylo, if he can find one person alone in the jungle, just calling for MrNazer's ultimate and then getting everyone there. I mean, you look at the mobility that the Papis have drafted here. Not only do you have that Janus ultimate, but Terra's Blessing as well from Dracomarino. Papis could be anywhere on the map in force in the blink of an eye. So you have to keep that in mind if you're Victoria's Secret. Even if you feel like you've got a solo opportunity in your lane, you cannot play up in this sort of matchup.
Well, funny enough, you see a lot of FrostiaK in the past, and we've mentioned before, he's a very feast or famine sort of player in the jungle. If he goes off, he can carry the team on his back. If he's having a bad game, the team can struggle. And funny enough, a lot of people have been saying that about MrNazer on the Papis too. Very feast or famine orientated. So jungler and mid for each of the teams have the same sort of issue.
But FrostiaK has proven to be pretty consistent on the Batz. That's one of the comfort characters for him. And when I think of recent performances from FrostiaK that really impressed me, Batz in particular comes to mind. Batz and Susano are the 2 characters that he really started to come into form on during his time in Lion Guard. So this is a strong pick for him. I think Batz, we haven't seen a lot of Batz recently, but that doesn't mean Batz still isn't really, really good. He's one of those evergreen junglers. He's always going to be strong. And
we do see 2 sprints on the side of both solo laners here. I didn't mention the fact that Julio started with this one. Or Julio. I don't know which way it's going to be said, so I'm just going to go with Julio, just in case.
Julio.
You know?
Little fanciness.
But both with sprints. No shells for either of them here. This sprint, very, very useful for escaping slows, obviously, and potentially giving your teammates Fatalis as well later on.
It's really, really good as the speed buff spawns here. Victoria's Secret. Dheylo coming in, but 3 members from Victoria's Secret mean they already got it.
Very late on the ultimate coming out from MrNazer there. I like the idea behind it. Just the execution was a little bit too late, and with Victoria's Secret recognizing that, there is a potential power play on MrNazer now.
Could be. I mean, he doesn't have that speed buff anymore, and he's not going to get another one because Dheylo certainly going to take his.
We missed it in the mid lane there, but LanceWolf just blinked in and used a Cataclysm looking for something. Didn't find a single thing. No relics burned. So Dheylo's going to return the favor. Big Fear No Evil from FrostiaK, though, will deny the Papis pushing forward. And in the end, is Dheylo in trouble? The shell has been forced.
Final Judgment hit Dheylo there, but he still had that damage reduction from Mystic Rush. He only took 50% of that damage, and so it barely did any at this stage. MrStefan does have that do more, but no stacks on it quite yet. Soon enough, that Final Judgment combination with Fear No Evil is going to cause problems for Dheylo, but still has at least until MrStefan stacks up that Doom Orb and finishes penetration boots before that becomes too much of a worry.
And I believe he just got that Doom Orb on base then after that fight, so we'll see how those stacks start to come through now. Meanwhile, MrNazer going for the mobility a little bit more first of all, getting these boots online. Very useful for Janus, obviously, having the mobility to escape and be very tricky to pin down.
I like this boot startup. I mean, you're going to be clearing pretty well as Janus anyways in the early game. His base damage on clearing the wave, because both orbs of Unstable Vortex hit, means you're going to be doing pretty good damage to a minion wave. You don't really need too much extra help in that department. Instead, get that mobility going. Try and accentuate your strengths that your kid already gives you.
Now, the goal lead at the moment is only around 1,1500, I like to say, but it's not even that important. That's a lie. I'm completely off. 100 is the gold lead at the moment, but it doesn't even matter if there were 2 or 3k up. It's almost at this early game now, it's 4 or 5k that's a real impact, because the mid game, you can hold on till that point now, and then potentially swing it round at tier 2 towers.
Spudio forced to use his Purification Beads. Good gank there by Dracomarino. Don't always need the jungler to come over to force out a relic. The support can do it just fine, and quick reaction there. No hesitation from Spudio, and I like that because I think that would have spelled death, even with not a lot of damage coming out of Warchi quite yet, going for this Devourer's Gauntlets rush instead of the boots. Yeah. Those snipes are still going to hurt at this stage.
And Devourer's Gauntlets obviously just recently buffed. We mentioned this a lot. We could potentially see a lot of these Devourer's Gauntlets come back, so lifesteal back on the menu for the Hunters, basically, especially with RC being available too.
And Ram, definitely the first one that came to my mind whenever we're talking about these Devourer's Gauntlet buffs. Ram was the only one building them still.
Well, he got nerfed as well in the patch, you know, at least with his Astral Strike, but still going to be very useful.
And now you're getting a little bit more power. You're getting half a point of physical power for every stack. Stacks up to 70 times. You're talking a big burst here whenever you finish off those 70 stacks. Plenty of lifesteal as well. You're right. Even despite the nerf, knowing that Ram was going to be very, very strong, still worth picking in the early game because his early game isn't bad. No. It's still, he's got excellent lane clear. His boxing potential isn't very good in the early game, but come mid-game, whenever he finishes off something like an Executioner, a Chin Size, or a crit item, he's going to outbox just about anybody.
And there's always underlying things with lifesteal being available to Hunters, like Gold Fury steals being taken away or just soloed. Spudio not going to get soloed here, but he will get brought down by Warchi, thanks to the help of Dheylo, who was just waiting in the wings, looking for a potential rotation at Spudio, and he got just that.
Not a lot of wards. One just ran out on that top left side for Victoria's Secret. There was one right next to that purple buff rock. Waited until it went away, and then Dheylo came around and showed his face there. Really good patience out of the Papis jungler, and it pays off. First blood for the Papis.
And we were hoping that would start that way with having that Ravana in the jungle potentially to get things going in their favor. MrNazer, nice little unstable vortex there, will deny Julio that experience of the big elemental at least, and get back in time for mid to continue soaking up that farm.
That's what Janus does best. Shows himself everywhere on the map. Now, Janus does have some significant weaknesses. He's not going to be putting out the team fight damage that MrStefan will until 28, 35 minutes, somewhere around there. That's a big window, I know, but it takes a long time for Janus to start really chunking you down with those unstable vortexes. And even then, Janus is never going to do as much damage as a Thoth will in the middle of these team fights. You have to use him as an assassin. You cannot afford to be hitting frontliners with unstable vortex too often because it just doesn't do enough damage.
Very interesting build coming out from Spudio here as well. Complete these full boots, now going for a Transcendence. Slightly late is the reason I'm saying it's interesting here. Normally if we see a Transcendence, it's normally a little bit earlier on than this.
And he could have really gone for Transcendence early because normally you're worried about going Transcendence before boots because the enemy laner is going to have boots and they're going to chase you down, but Warchi went for Devourer's Gauntlets and didn't have boots, so that would have been the opportunity to do that as FrostiaK blinks in, but a little bit late on the Fear No Evil. Creed reacting to the blink sound and using Yule's Rally.
Definitely down to the blink, but Dracomarino now taking a turn to come and pressure Spudio, looking to give Warchi another kill if he can. Well, no ultimate leaded. Warchi just didn't trust in his own last basic, wanted to make sure he got the kill, and even MrNazer's here to make sure with the ultimate to help out in case there's a rotation.
Good choice, though, by Warchi. I've got no problem with him using that. Dheylo right into the mid lane. Stefan already gone. Dheylo just erases him with the help of MrNazer.
And this is what you want in other Papis. If you're a Papis fan right now, you want this early lead. You want them to start controlling this game, showing what they've learned in the SPL, this split. Gold Fury started up here now by the Papis. Only FrostiaK here. FrostiaK's ultimate is down for a considerable amount of time, but LanceWolf hovering around with blinking Cataclysm. I don't know about going for a steal, but he might just try.
There's the blink. Cataclysm comes out, but no shockwave quite yet. FrostiaK in. He's getting low. Gold Fury goes down, and MrNazer's the one that got it.
So it goes the way of the Papis, and LanceWolf there in anything just ended up tanking it more than he should have done. He blinked Cataclysm early. Then he should have really reset. He held the Gold Fury, and by doing that, how are they gonna secure it?
It's gonna be difficult, but I think that's less of a misplay on LanceWolf's part and more of a good play by the Papis, immediately using that sound cue from the blink, and they back up. They don't put any DPS into that Gold Fury because Cataclysm's going to do damage to the gods, but not to the objective. You got to use Shockwave in order to secure it. As long as you keep it out of that low HP threshold that Shockwave needs, it's going to be a safe situation for the Papis, just like we saw.
So 3-0 now to the Papis and the Gold Fury under their belt. Gold lead isn't monumental just yet, but this is great standing for them because Warchi is already level 12, which means he can go back now, get his second relic, and you're looking at the hyper carries. Meanwhile, mid lane, MrNazer on that Janus, working towards what's more than likely going to be Spear of Desolation next.
In this sort of scenario, I know that I harp on Spear of Desolation in the early game not being quite as strong as many people think, but in this sort of situation where you're kind of accepting that you're not going to be doing a lot of damage at this stage, going for utility, but also keeping your late game build in mind, this is a good spot for Janus to get Spear of Desolation. It does, as I mentioned, lower your damage pretty significantly. That burst damage not going to be there for quite some time now for MrNazer, but in the end game, this build path is going to end up pretty nicely for him.
Just looking down the net worth on the left-hand side, and you can see at the bottom, at the moment, it's FrostiaK and Mr. Stefan on Victoria's Secret, who are behind in this mid and jungle over their lane opponents.
And Warchi's 600 gold up on Spudio right now. Spudio's going to back and finish off that Transcendence. As Warchi finishes stacking his Devourer's Gauntlets, that's a big lead right now for Warchi.
Space and time, fired by MrNazer, looking to the right-hand side. Dheylo busy in the fight as the ultimate comes through. Didn't find a home it was after, but it did allow escape routes if required. Round the back comes LanceWolf, though, and LanceWolf could be in trouble.
But Dheylo didn't get hit by that Cataclysm. Draco did, but a double portal for MrNazer might get him out of danger.
Oh, FrostiaK still going in, no ultimate available, and can't kill Dracomarino. The sprint comes into play. Nice shield onto FrostiaK just to protect him from LanceWolf as they tried to collapse for Creed, who jukes out. Still, though, the kill will go down. LanceWolf getting credit for it. Victoria's Secret finally get themselves on the board.
So I mentioned that the Papis have a lot of mobility in between through space and time and the Terra's Blessing, but using both at the same time doesn't really boost up that mobility very much, and it keeps your mobility confined to a short duration of time. I think I'd like to see the Papis use through space and time and then Terra's Blessing.
The Devils.
Or vice versa.
Look at the gold, Victoria's Secret, the evil. 6-6-6 in terms of gold gain from that team fight there. Did go in their favor, but it was a very long extended fight that Papis kind of overcommitted to.
I agree. I mean, Dheylo used the ultimate defensively towards the end. I don't even know if he ended up using that ultimate. I know he saved it whenever FrostiaK went in with the Fear No Evil, and you automatically think Papis are going to be having a good fight, but it was LanceWolf's positioning of not just following the same path that the rest of the team was following, but instead the aggressive route underneath the Fire Giant. Everyone from the Papis just kind of funnels right into LanceWolf. He only finds Dracomarino with the Cataclysm, but it's enough to bait Creed in. He's trying to get Draco out. Draco dying there is much less impactful than Creed taking the first death for the Papis.
Julio could be in trouble here as Dheylo wraps around the back, but a quick turtle escapes the route and lives to fight another day. The Corgi alongside him will continue to fight with him.
I think of you every time I see this Erlang Shen skin. Yeah.
I've never worn that outfit. I've never owned a Corgi. Just because, like, you know.
Yeah, but you've probably, like, worn a turtle shell with a British flag on it.
Whenever I see the Bacchus Hoot and Holler skin, I think of anyone American. It's the same thing as what you're doing with that skin, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm generalizing. Yeah.
Offensive. It's okay, though. Only 13 minutes in, and so far, everybody looking pretty good in this game. No real overbearing situation where one team's running away with it. Papis have looked the stronger team so far, and with how this is going, that's a good sign, especially with this Janus that's just going to get better and better. Just held my voice for a second there because I saw Stefan charging that ultimate. Maybe if that knockup from LanceWolf would have connected, we may have seen a bit of a action-packed situation there.
Dheylo spending a lot of time here. Warchi actually in a lot of trouble on this duo side. Ultimate comes out of Spudio. Warchi does survive, and with that, Devourer's Gauntlets could just stick around, but decides to take a trip back to base. What I was about to say, though, is that Dheylo spent a lot of time on the solo side, but Papis gained this lead by punishing Spudio for his positioning. Only one ward on the left side of the map there for Spudio. You just go underneath that Gold Fury, and he's another free kill. Yes, he's got Aegis now, but Warchi's got those snipes. Skadi very immobile. Papis going away from what got them their lead in the first place is a big reason why Victoria's Secret's on their way back in.
Well, Victoria's Secret going to look for this Portal Demon, and nobody on Papis seems to know this is going on. Creed on the right-hand side being pinned back, and two members of the Papis returning from base means Victoria's Secret recognize a window and punish them for it.
I like Mr. Stefan committing the ultimate there, not knowing if anyone from the Papis was in range. All of a sudden, the entire team could show up with the draft for the Papis having through space and time and Terra's blessing. Guarantee that objective. You're not going to miss that final judgment for the next 90 seconds.
Now, Warchi has started investing into some crit. Poison Star could be on the table here. Did get a buff recently in the amount of crit coming out, but will it be Poison Star over Wind Demon?
It could be either one. Both, I think, pretty viable in this sort of scenario. Gold Fury getting low. FrostiaK blinks in. There's the Fear No Evil. Gold Fury still leashed, but not enough to find it yet.
Gold Fury goes down and goes to Warchi, so the Papis pick that one up. Now Papis looking to pretty much disengage from this, and Victoria's Secret can only stand by and watch.
And again, this is what I like to see. Dracomarino uses Terra's Blessing. MrNazer holding on to through space and time just in case. Stop stacking those. Use them one after the other to get the maximum duration for that mobility. Papis, good pull there as well. I don't know if they knew that Mr. Stefan's ultimate was down, but it was, and so that's an easier Gold Fury secure. And again, stopping the DPS whenever someone from Victoria's Secret blinks in. MrNazer held the purification beads even on FrostiaK's Fear No Evil, not burning away his purification beads.
So going back to Warchi, we're looking at now, we mentioned a little bit about the crit. Wind Demon or Poison Star was the question. And do you know either way where this could go?
I'd imagine it's going to be Wind Demon, a little bit more standard. Mobility, attack speed, and just synergizes beautifully with Deathbringer. A little bit surprised that if Warchi's going the crit route, that he's not starting with Rage. That's been the kind of agreed upon starter crit item, because not only does it give you a lot of crit outright, and it's cheap for a crit item, very, very cheap, but it has that stacking mechanic that once you hit 5, you're getting even more crit chance, and that just augments whatever second crit item you're going for. But Wind Demon is one of those. It's a little bit less impactful than Deathbringer whenever you do get that small chance for crit, but it is very impactful, not only because of the increased movement speed, but the attack speed as well. It has everything a hunter wants in an item outside of penetration, so it's always going to be a strong item.
And we also saw as well, Victoria's Secret did have 2 members finish off their Brawler's Beat Sticks, one for the jungler in FrostiaK, and then Spudio as well, who's slowly starting to catch up in terms of build now to that of Warchi. Obviously, Warchi with a nice, healthy lead so far. And you can see he's got 6 items there. I mean, 2 are starters, granted, but then when you factor in Spudio's got 2 starters too, and he's already working on his last item in slot right now.
Yeah, I like this Brawler's Beat Stick, though, from Spudio, not only because it's just a good penetration item for Skadi. I talked a little bit about the differences between Game Hunter's build and Game 1 with New Game Plus and what most Skadis are going for. This is a little bit more standard for that Hunter, but he's going for the Brawlers because it's going to reduce the healing from Warchi that he's getting from those lifesteal and the Devourer's Gauntlets, making it a little bit easier for Spudio to box him.
Well, Mystical Male versus Mystical Male. One's got a dog and one doesn't, is the only real difference here between the two.
Yeah, but one's got a whip.
I was going to say, one's got a bit of lifesteal as well with that whip, and that comes into play. And Draco keeps showing his face over here. That's a bit surprising to me, because it's not something I didn't see too much last time, but Warchi's in trouble.
In a lot of trouble. Has to use Aegis and the ultimate. Through Space and Time comes out, and here comes the rotation. Spudio's the one in trouble now.
Great Aegis from Spudio, and the beats to follow up means that they can't pin him down just yet, and the jukes are just too good. Spudio will get away to safety. Rotations on the way from Victoria's Secret. FrostiaK could look to pay some attention, but he knows that he's against multiple members. Will jump in, look towards MrNazer, giving the good old Fear No Evil, and body block him inside it, so the Aegis wears off. Still, though, Nazer is fine, trying to return damage, and in the end, everybody will live to fight another day.
Love what FrostiaK does there. Waits out to see what the response is going to be from the Papis to his Furious Monkey Bounce. then decides whenever the portal's down for MrNazer, he's the optimum target. Teleports to Dheylo, but immediately switches over to MrNazer. Good Aegis usage, didn't use both relics. We see that a lot from pro players where they use both in that sort of scenario. Only choosing one, MrNazer's Aegis, not a big deal to lose in that scenario.
Spudio now no relics this time, Sunshine. How are you going to get out of this one? The answer is LanceWolf to the rescue. Warchi's trapped in the purple pit. Shell comes to keep him alive. The crit will come into play, and the monkey has fallen. Oh no, Stefan missed the ultimate as now Janus turns up as well with MrNazer in tow. And in the sky is Warchi trying to buy himself time. The portals are getting him away, and the Papis stand tall and get a kill.
The Poison Star comes up big for Warchi there. That increase in critical chance strike certainly showing dividends already here for the Papis Hunter. Big crit there onto FrostiaK to save his life. Beautiful ultimate from MrNazer though, providing that extra escape route. Mr. Stefan just a little bit off the mark with that ult.
Well, left-hand side, now two members were looking to push, but with Draco and MrNazer still hanging around, won't be available to them. It's going to have a quick pause here in this game. So far, aggro 4-1, 20 minutes approaching right now in this game. Looking good for the Papis as it stands.
Absolutely, and Warchi's looked really, really good so far today. That one instance where he almost gets soloed all the way underneath his tower, but when you've got Terra and Janus on your team, you kind of are trying to bait out those sorts of scenarios and did so well there.
But the Hunter in that lane as well, he started on his own, did his own red buff, rotated to lane. This is not really a strategy you can do over and over again because teams can try and punish you for trying to do this red buff solo. So one trick wonder this, or is it something that teams have to recognize and try and come back to?
But in a relegation process like this, where you're just playing each team one time, the other teams are playing. They can't afford to sit around and watch you. You know, they're taking care of their own games and getting ready for them. So you could probably still use this pretty consistently. Plus, a lot of teams have been doing this during Season 4 anyways, and there's been a kind of lack of willingness to go in and stop that for some teams. Towards the end of the summer split, teams like Energy realized Raffer's not going to let you do a red buff by yourself. Teams started to catch on that that's a really good counter strategy to that, but don't be surprised if Warchi continues to get away with it here in Relegations.
I don't think Victoria's Secret are too far behind as it stands in this game. They just seem a little bit too late and not really combining as well as they should be. Bit of nerves, I guess. You know, SPL Relegations, some of these names haven't really been to this stage before.
That's true. I mean, but they're not out of it. I mean,
no, not at all.
Even Spudio has been camped pretty heavily on that left side. Is still pretty close in terms of XP. Behind items, yes, but close in XP. You've got Mr. Stefan, who, yes, that ultimate was off the mark, but it only takes one in the mid to late game to change the course of a fight and change the course of the game. They still are in this game pretty heavily right now.
And back to the game we go, 4-1. Like I said, approaching 20 minutes now. God Fury will be respawning relatively soon as well, as the Oracles will probably be down there at the same time, which means ward coverage could be quite important there, especially with Portal Demon also being available. We saw Victoria's Secret strip that away earlier themselves.
And don't forget, like you mentioned, Warchi with this Devourer's Gauntlet has a chance to try and solo one of these objectives down. You don't need a whole team there if your Hunter has a ton of lifesteal, and that's something that these players really haven't had to worry about too much during Season 4 with lifesteal kind of falling out in terms of effectiveness, but in this sort of scenario, Victoria's Secret has to keep that in mind.
Combine it with the fact that you can go with Death Toll and Bombers at the start with certain gods too. Plenty of sustaining this off a minion wave, off a jungle camp. You can be knocked down to 25% health, go into the jungle, clear a camp, and almost be back to fighting status once more. That's the power that we could start to see from the Hunters going for the Devourer's Gauntlet's route.
But he sold both the Death Toll and the Bombers mask just to get that 8-pointed shuriken, to try and get as close as possible to that Wind Demon.
Poison Star, Wind Demon, Deathbringer, I guess is going to be the plan. Because if you're not going to get raged that late, are you? You want to get it on the line early, get those stacks going for yourself.
Yeah, I would imagine the Deathbringer is what's going to follow up here for Warchi after this Wind Demon. Definitely going for Wind Demon though, because there's only 2 options there out of that tree, and he's already got one of them.
Sure. So there's not really many other options. Surprised to see what MrNazer chose as well. He did go for the Book of Thoth after Spear of Desolation. Obviously, the stacks from Book of Thoth aren't as impactful as you may think. Generally, you get a lot of mana by leveling up. Those stacks are very small amounts of extra damage.
Normally, I would question this ordering, I would suppose, from the build hold that thought is Dheylo in some trouble. Now knocked up. There's a Fear No Evil. Big through space and time. Chunks down LanceWolf, but not enough to bring him down.
So that was FrostiaK there with the Fear No Evil, trying to time it to perfection of the CC chain. Problem was he left a small window, and that's where Dheylo managed to get his overhead kickoff, which meant that Fear No Evil did not secure the kill. If FrostiaK didn't go for the perfect play there and went for the safer play, it probably would have have resulted in a kill more often than not.
Dheylo's the one with the shell, so he wouldn't have been able to give it to himself, obviously. Terra's Blessing popped as MrNazer getting dove underneath that tier 1. Julio's going to pick him up.
And everybody looking to run away. LanceWolf will get hit by the walls of Dracomarino, and Warchi roaming in means LanceWolf's in trouble. Dheylo's going to slam down from the sky to cause an issue as Draco zoning the backline at the same time. Julio and FrostiaK can only really watch on as the Papis fall back, and Warchi happy to stand in the front and go, let's box, monkey. To the sky he goes, 2 in a row, 1 more's good. No jump for you this time, and Frosty goes down.
Warchi has to beads and try and get away. Julio's going to chase him down. Pin is good. Lifesteal coming through, though, from Warchi. He's going for it.
Not going to be able to stay alive much longer as Dheylo can't help anymore either. Spudio with a very little on the Skadi there, but starting to pressure the tier 1, and they will pick it up with all the penetration he has.
And to the 2 damage dealers from Papis are the 2 that end up falling. FrostiaK and LanceWolf, they're not really necessary for a siege as long as Julio's healthy to tank up that tower for Spudio. 2 for 2, but more impactful 2 kills for Victoria's Secret there means that they get the tier 1 tower.
And surprisingly enough, every time we go to this at the bottom of the team fight recap, it seems to be always going Victoria's Secret's way. I mean, even the fight where the Papis found that 1 kill, there's nothing that really came out of that. It was just a singular kill that didn't result in too much anywhere else on the map.
Either way, Papis still the ones with the 2 gold Furies, and that's been the real difference maker so far.
And take the gold Furies out of the gold right now, and it's probably, if not slightly, in favor of Victoria's Secret here. So these gold Furies are the real impact.
Definitely. So Victoria's Secret just needs to make sure that they don't give up a 3rd gold Fury. That's what they're probably talking about right now, is they can't afford to give up a 3rd. The Papis can't really afford to give up the next one either, though, because as you mentioned, the team fights have, despite Papis having more kills, team fights have really gone Victoria's Secret's way as a whole, and so you don't want to give up that slight lead that you have because you've been behind in the team fights, even with the lead. You can imagine what's going to happen if you don't have one.
The only bad thing here is when I'm looking at the Papis, I'm very happy where the kills have gone for the Papis here. 4 to Warchi, 2 to Dheylo in the jungle. Victoria's Secret's 3 kills though. 2 on Julio in the solo lane, K, and then 1 again. Yeah, like that's disappointing. Obviously, a little bit of gold extra, a little bit of experience extra for getting those kills, especially if you were a lower level than your opposition too. You would have liked them to potentially be on the Batz, on the Skadi, or on that Thoth in the mid lane.
FrostiaK blinks forward. Great ultimate though from Warchi, who didn't have the beads. Instead, uses his ultimate as CC immunity. Going to try and put some damage out in return, but will not be able to do so. Gold Fury goes down there. Spudio did secure it for Victoria's Secret.
And immediately, Papis will disengage again. I do like the playstyle of Papis though. They'll contest the Gold Fury, they'll look to take the Gold Fury, but once it's down, there is no more realistic fighting unless there's a real opportunity.
And again, it comes back to they spent the last split in the SPL, and Europe has been so objective-minded during Season 4. They're always looking for those, and when you get beat by teams who are doing that, it kind of teaches you that that's probably what you should be doing as well.
I'll be honest, I would like to see these solo lanes start to rotate a little bit more now. Julio is already level 20 on this Erlang Shen. He did rotate to the fight before the last one and try and make an impact, and he picked up a couple of kills because of it. Start to see Julio rotate around, but Portal Demon under threat.
LanceWolf finds the Cataclysm. Portal Demon's still pretty low here, but not as low as Warchi. Shell comes through, and the Aegis through space of time chunks down Spudio, but Warchi's already gone.
And now Creed on the run too. We'll get the portal to safety as Dracomarino dashes to the right-hand side, trying to make Victoria's Secret choose an option. And with those walls from Dracomarino coming down, Victoria's Secret have to fall back. Portal Demon goes down, Papis pick it up, and MrNazer pushing mid lane too as Victoria's Secret looking to get a tower of their own on the right-hand side.
Julio rotating towards mid, gonna try and punish MrNazer, but shouldn't be able to with Janus.
Tricky.
Yeah, just being able to walk through walls. Erlang Shen can't do that for whatever reason.
Blink.
So
He needs Blink. Chase the
needs.
Janus for days.
Blink Mystical Mail can be difficult to use effectively.
Yes, yes it can. Very, very true indeed. But you know, you never know. It can pay off if you work it out properly. But hey, 6-4 then, 10 kills in this game so far, and still anyone's game.
Warchi has got to be positioning a little bit more conservatively in future team fights, though. This is twice now that he's been frontlining, basically. Yeah, he was able to pick up the kill on a FrostiaK with the snipes under the tier 1 tower, the team fight before this one, but he's still the furthest one forward for the Papis. There, he gets focused down before anybody else, and so Victoria's Secret able to take the tower because of it.
Right, on the left-hand side, you can see gold per minute right now, and at the top of that list is Spudio.
Yeah.
The guy who was 0-2-0 in the laning phase has now out-leveled Warchi, and he's out-farming him as well, which is allowing them to actually be more relevant in this game. I don't know how the player damage is looking right now, but that gold and experience per minute is really making an impact.
Yeah, he's above him in player damage as well. I mean, Spudio's done a good job of trying to stay relevant despite that lead. And as I mentioned, Poppy's got a lead for Warchi and then just kind of let Spudio farm safely back into the game.
Well, I don't think Victoria's Secret recognized how far away Warchi was at the red buff just then, so that start of the Fire Giant was very interesting for a moment, but it's been reset for now. As the Ward Wars begin, it's Julio on the front lines at the moment, dueling with Dracomarino and everybody else, but there's a Blink Cataclysm from LanceWolf, getting Dheylo and Warchi in trouble. Warchi knocked up, Finna with a late from FrostiaK yet again. Mr. Stefan at the back is being focused down, and Dheylo will pick up the kill. Creed will escape through the portal as the snipes rain down from Warchi. No one's dead just yet, but people are dueling everywhere.
Draco down to about half HP, but Warchi shows up and he's got that crit.
MrNazer.
NaZer all the way in the front line. Beads gets him out of danger, but very, very close there. Poppy's new mid laner almost took a spill.
But it was Mr. Stefan that took a spill in the end, dove in the backline in that engagement. And that's the benefit of having Creed and Dheylo, two warriors. They can get to the backline.
And Stefan has to use his ultimate in that scenario because Warchi was the focus by that Blink Cataclysm from LanceWolf. Still no relics. Final Judgment comes through. Warchi gets a race before he even gets a chance to throw an auto attack in that team fight. Instead, Stefan just uses the Hieroglyphic Assault, and that's not going to do it at this stage, even with the Rod of Tahuti. If Mr. Stefan just commits with the Final Judgment, that team fight almost certainly goes Victoria's Secret's way.
Well, speed buff goes down. Give it over to Dheylo, who I do like this on Dheylo as well. He's making a very big impact in the jungle in this game, putting a lot more pressure on than what FrostiaK has been doing so far. Fire Giant started up, and the crits really coming through.
About half HP already onto that. FrostiaK, no ultimate, but it's going to be up soon. No blink for him as Creed keeps him out of the fight. In goes Dheylo through space of time coming through. Gonna chunk down Spudio.
But Spudio's still alive and escaping round the right-hand side. Dracomarino gonna chase it and get the kill. He will sack himself for the pleasure of that, but a hunter for a support isn't doom and gloom.
Ooh.
MrNazer evaporates Stefan as Warchi is critted away.
But he's right in front of a Bellona, so it's not going to do a whole lot for him. Julio gets CC, NaZer gets another one, and now it's only LanceWolf
Nice
left.
portal from NaZer, but LanceWolf looking to roll away. Option denied, however, from Creed, and a kill for Dheylo means Tier 1 tower could be a threat, or maybe more importantly, the Fire Giant.
Great ultimate there from MrNazer. Not only does it give him an option into that team fight, but he hits both Spudio and Mr. Stefan with the resulting unstable vortex. And then Mr. Stefan's sitting there charging his Final Judgment. NaZer just looks at him like, all right, dude, if you're going to stand there, I'm just going to clap you with this unstable vortex. Hits him with both parts. Love what Papis are doing right now. Holding this Fire Giant until Draco respawns.
I was about to say, what they're doing now, like badly tanking a Fire Giant? No, it was a really good play, actually. The whole idea behind that, make all your teammates get the Fire Giant buff, so you could all use it sieging down these towers.
In situations like that, you just decided the enemy team. You don't want to do that in your games whenever, you know, there's someone on the enemy team waiting to come in and steal it potentially.
Generally in ranked and casual games, waiting for a teammate is probably a bad idea, because the dude who normally dies in those team fights is the rotten egg. He's the rotten egg that, like, he's going to waste it anyway, so don't bother. Get it under your belt and start farming more. But Papis, different story, you know? That was an important player they were missing. They needed him back.
Draco has played very well so far this game. 1-1-6, level 18 already on this Terra. That's a pretty high level for the 29-minute mark.
Although there's some hella low damage coming out from Dracomarino in this game, considering that's the case.
He's Terra.
He's 2 levels up, but to be fair, Terra's damage isn't the worst in the game.
It's not great either, though. I mean, Geb's going to be doing more because Shockwave actually hits really, really hard in terms of player damage. Plus, you're doing percent damage, so you're going to be getting numbers regardless.
Very surprised to see Victoria's Secret back away from their Tier 2 towers here. Obviously, Tier 2 towers and Phoenix is a little bit healthier these days, but Victoria's Secret still not feeling confident at defending the left-hand one. Will we see a defense of any of these at all?
Maybe the right side one if someone gets a little bit poked out, but overall, probably not. I like what Papis are doing here. Warchi, can we actually take a look at Golden Hand? Because Warchi might have enough to finish off the Deathbringer here once they finish off this Portal Demon. They already got a Gold Fury. They got a Tier 2 in left as well. So you get this Portal, you back.
He must have it.
You finish off the power items. You Obsidian Shard probably going to be finished here for MrNazer. That's a big one. Yes, Warchi did manage to find that Deathbringer as well. Those are 2 massive power spikes for your 2 damage dealers for the Papis. Love that decision to play patient. Get these power items. Now the Siege is going to be that much more potent.
But when you look at the Siege of the Phoenixes, the big issue I do see from the Papis is they're going to be relying a lot on Warchi here. Obviously, Dheylo and Creed are very melee heavy, which means you've got to get to the Phoenix to actually hit on it. So Warchi's going to be the main damage dealer on these Phoenixes. And Victoria's Secret have a very good squad for defending Phoenixes here. Obviously, we've been able to have Thoth sat so far back behind the Phoenix. And then Spudio with that Skadi. Sorry, that cold air, I should say. It could cause some problems.
Put 3 shells on the side of Papis. Warchi gets hit with a big
Straight
final
on
judgment.
Warchi.
That was good, no hesitation there for Mr. Stefan, but still not enough.
FrostiaK trying to go in and make something turn around. MrNazer blinks back in with the ultimate, I should say, but gets evaporated by Spudio. 1 kill goes down. MrNazer drops. He used space and time. Thoth is in, looking for the burst, and in the end, it's him that drops it instead.
The team fight before, that was the feast for MrNazer. He played that beautifully. It was a perfect team fight. Killed it.
Yep.
That was the famine, because I don't know what that was. I mean, even if the call is let's get our whole team in there after they use all their ultimates, it was only Warchi who was next to MrNazer when he fires off that ultimate, and he was half HP or lower.
But if he hits the ultimate onto a squishy target, then the whole squad goes back in. So I get the idea behind it, but it's very risky.
Sure.
You don't like it?
I heavily dislike it.
I don't know, because like in my eyes, they were still healthy enough to fight outside of Warchi. So Warchi could still use his ultimate and impact the fight, potentially lifesteal up in the jungle again if required a little bit, or even just crit someone with 1 basic and turn the fight himself after the initial ult. Still though, 4 members with Fire Giant and the Papis have had to relinquish sieging the towers now at least, just because MrNazer dropped out.
And as I mentioned, I really liked that idea from the Papis to get the Gold Fury, get the tier 2 on left, back, get your power items. But at the same time, that does kind of give Victoria's Secret a minute to say, okay, here's what we want to do in this team fight. Here's where we want to defend. Look for this. We're going to be using this in this order. Things of that nature in order to get everything in line for your defense. Whereas if you're just marching down, knocking down the tier 2 towers as quickly as they were, you can kind of catch a team off guard. They're not organized. They're not ready to engage. Did give Victoria's Secret that moment to think. However, I still think that was the right play. Getting Deathbringer and Obsidian Shard, I would back for one of those, let alone both. It was just that it was a good engagement by Victoria's Secret, knocking out Warchi pretty much from the fight, at least momentarily, and then MrNazer just throwing his life away in that scenario.
Well, wards at the moment around the Fire Giant pit. You can see there's 1 directly next to the Fire Giant by Victoria's Secret. Meanwhile, though, there's 2 just behind that, 2 sentry wards from the Papis there, giving vision of the Victoria's Secret rotating towards the Fire Giant area. Obviously, they know the Fire Giant's not down just yet, so the Papis can smell a sneaky trap from the Secret.
And they need to be careful here because Nazer doesn't have his beads for 15. Warchi doesn't have any relics for about another dozen seconds.
That's not too bad.
With Victoria's Secret backing here right as the Fire Giant's about to spawn, 3 members all back at once. That was a curiously timed back. I don't think that's what they should have done there.
And immediately Papis run in, clear out the ward and starve the Fire Giant. Julio the only one here, and now FrostiaK joining him too. Fire Giant won't take too long against Warchi right now with the way he's swinging, and MrNazer's just looking to poke out Julio, who comes in looking for the steal.
Already pretty low, but Warchi focusing down Mr. Julio instead. Fire Giant goes down, but it's stolen! Victoria's Secret got it!
Warchi in trouble, running for his life. Aegis down as Dheylo jumps on FrostiaK. FrostiaK still running away. Warchi though, pinned down by Julio.
Shell.
Big old shell to the rescue. The sustain is keeping Warchi up. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, MrNazer creating a distraction as the shield onto FrostiaK will keep him top too. Everybody backs away, but it's Victoria's Secret that stole the Fire Giant.
Somehow, man. I don't know how they don't get punished for having 3 people back, and there's no excuse for not having timer because now there's a global audio cue whenever Fire Giant goes down. There's no excuse for backing there for Victoria's Secret, but somehow they don't get punished for it. Warchi focuses down Julio instead of just autoing down the Fire Giant that was 1 HP. You got to be a little bit more objective-minded there if you're the Papis.
I think that was just a split call of do we do damage, do we finish the Fire Giant, and by the time everyone's got on the same page, too little, too late. In the end, you've got to disengage. The main thing for the Papis is that they all stayed alive. But now Victoria's Secret have a chance to take down some of the towers of the Papis. Gold Fury also available means this gold swing is going to be coming closer towards even sooner rather than later.
But this gold doesn't matter too much now for Victoria's Secret. I mean, you look at their item builds, most of these players have finished off their power items. Rod of Tahuti's already done for Mr. Stefan. He's looking for a defense item in that 6th slot. Spudio, 6 items slotted. Julio, 6 items slotted. FrostiaK does still need to sell that Bluestone Pendant and get his 6 items, so that's going to be the biggest power spike there. He can go for the Deathbringer, just try and trying to get that lucky crit off of his passive after using an ability and try and blow someone up. That's going to be the one area where this gold is going to really impact Victoria's Secret.
Well, Victoria's Secret going to take Tier 1 and Tier 2. Meanwhile, Papis will take the Pole Demon and get back to defend the Phoenix. Will Victoria's Secret look for the fight here? Because Dheylo has been caught in the mid lane, I believe, by those minions that were just dying on the recall, but he'll be back in time anyway, so Victoria's Secret going to play safe. Take the Tier 2s out first.
I don't mind this call. Just keeping it, don't want to make a mistake at this stage of the game. 36 minutes in, if you get wiped here, you're probably losing the game unless you took 3 to 4 members with you. They're going for the minion wave here in mid lane is what it looks like to me. Just trying to make sure that they aren't going to have to tank anything up in that mid tier 2. I like this call.
Still a close game between these two. We've seen Papis in pretty much control of this, with Victoria's Secret showing signs every so often. That last Fire Giant, though, has potentially swung this in favor of Victoria's Secret. Papis on the defense, and their squad for defending isn't too bad either. Wave clear's a bit of an issue, though.
Wave clear is an issue, and MrNazer really excels on that sort of chaos of being aggressive. On the defensive, it's a lot more difficult to get into the back line and be a disruption.
So round to the right-hand side, I expect to see Victoria's Secret go for the final Tier 2 tower. They did bring all the minions with them, and then as soon as that happened, Papis went, you know what, we can't defend this now. I think if we saw Victoria's Secret look to do the Tier 2 without minions, we definitely would see some more defense coming out.
But still Tier 2 standing on the right-hand side here for the Papis. So they're not, their base, their Phoenixes aren't completely exposed. And as you mentioned, some changes coming through. Tier 2 towers tankier now. Phoenixes tankier than they used to be. Could be a big reason why we see Victoria's Secret back up and only worry about 2 of the Tier 2s instead of trying to siege down that left side Phoenix.
Well, Dracomarino going to head around to the blue buff with Dheylo, and Speed about to spawn for the Papis too. They would like them just for the cooldown reduction from the blue and the extra mobility for the Speed, at least for one of their members. And I don't know if Victoria's Secret will get here in time. It'll be Julio, the nearest to it, but I don't think he'll make it here in time. Oh, tell a lie, he's going to force a reset. So 2 free buffs there for Victoria's Secret, as Papis didn't really know what to do.
Speed, much more impactful than the blue buff at this stage. As you mentioned, the cooldown's nice, and certainly on a character like Geb, good choice to give that to LanceWolf, but FrostiaK not only getting a speed, but denying a speed from the Papis is a big play.
Well, this is a backdoor attempt coming out, but now the minions will be on their way relatively soon, and the minions won't be needed to bring down this final Tier 2 tower of the Papis. Papis now on the defense, looking for a lazy rotation for Victoria's Secret, but there's no lazy rotations here. They're going to head back towards the Fire Giant pit as the Fire Giant is just dropped off them. They'll be looking for the next one to try and continue this pressure.
FrostiaK backing and does pick up that Deathbringer last item, so big power spike now for Victoria's Secret's jungler. It needs a little bit of RNG on his side, but you can obviously boost up your chances by using an ability and then an in-hand, that Hunbat's passive giving you extra crit strike chance after using an ability. I like the Mantle of Discord for him here as well. Not only does it give you some CDR, some protection against everything, 60 of each prot, but giving him that kind of mini Geb ult whenever he falls below that 30% threshold. Everyone around you gets stunned, and you become CC immune. So you can use Blink, be aggressive, and then use that stun as a window of opportunity to get yourself out of danger.
Well, MrNazer just finally completed his build. Still not upgraded his relics just yet because his build is so damn expensive. But he has got that Chronos Pendant online now, which is, for all intents and purposes, 30% CDR on his abilities. When your abilities are on cooldown, that's where the Chronos Pendant comes into play for the extra 10%. And so, with the Spirit of Desolation, he's at 40 as it stands.
And can go over cap,
yes,
basically, with that passive. It can basically function as 50% CDR, as you mentioned.
Spudio ate a crit from Warchi there and didn't really like the taste of that, so turned into a turtle. FrostiaK around the back, onto Warchi, and Warchi's barely alive. Aegis and Shell lose over the wall. Spudio comes to the rescue to clean up the kill. Dheylo looking for FrostiaK as the fight continues, but Dheylo now left alone as the rest of the Papis fall back. Space and time by Nazer hits Spudio, but he's not going to slow him down at all. Oh my god, downloads documents, get off my screen, give me the fight!
MrNazer has to use the Purification Beads just to make sure that he gets out of danger there, but again, Warchi is just out of position. You have to wait until Hunbat's engages in that sort of scenario. Otherwise, you couldn't get crit down, and that's exactly what happened. FrostiaK's Deathbringer comes up huge for Victoria's Secret. I believe he got 2 in a row there. It was one off the Fear No Evil proc, another off the Furious Monkey Bounce. All of a sudden, Warchi goes from completely healthy to completely dead in a matter of seconds.
It was almost, I think it was 4 relics used to try and save Warchi there. Both of his own, Beads and Aegis, as well as the Shell, and I believe Sprint was also used too. And still Warchi falls down. Papis should know now that Warchi's going to be the focus every fight, because that's all FrostiaK is hunting for. If they can take him out, it causes them so many problems.
And look, I get it. It is very difficult to stay out of range of a jump, blink, Hunbat's ultimate, but in these late game team fights, you either have to have someone saying, I have him in combat, he's not going to be blinking on you, or you have to wait until it goes down. Let MrNazer eat that, because MrNazer can beads and then portal away. I mean, he's got a lot of options in terms of getting away from FrostiaK. Warchi really doesn't. Even if he beads immediately and then uses the ultimate, you're standing still for long enough. That's 2 auto attacks, and if you get crit twice, you're dead anyways.
And even if you just ult straight up and time it perfectly, you're still going to at least 1 crit. If you're lucky, it's just 1 crit. With all the towers down now, though, Victoria's Secret looking to try and clear up the wards in the jungle first of all to limit Papis' vision of where the attack could come from, because it does set Stefan up on that Thoth to fire the shots over the wall and cause problems, and also keeps FrostiaK on that cheeky little monkey hidden away to be able to blink in or just somersault in and cause problems with the Fear No Evil.
Big pin there from Julio, takes the Magi's Blessing off of Dracomarino. That's a minute now that he's not going to have that bubble of CC immunity. And that's going to be pretty impactful on the siege.
FrostiaK around the right-hand side here, just keep an eye on him. He'll be looking to blink into the back line with the Fear No Evil and does so. MrNazer survives in the space of time. Will not hit onto Spudio till Alido. Spudio almost deleted. Still Spudio running, but Dheylo will clean it up. Great defense from Papis so far as Stefan tries to return the favor with an ult of his own, but only catching onto Creed. And the Papis march forward down mid.
MrNazer portaling in again. Warchi was able to dodge that, evade, and punish. Shell comes out from Papis as they try and continue this push. And with that threshold, with the sprint, look at the movement speed from the Papis.
Great blink from LanceWolf just to avoid staying in combat there, and he would have probably been caught in the end. So Dracomarino will tank up the tier 2 tower, but it's not going to be easy for the Papis to bring it down. They have to fall back, and that's going to be the end of that one. Remember, 4 members of Victoria's Secret still have the Fire Giant for now.
And FrostiaK's got 30% CDR in that build, so that Fear No Evil's not going to be down for long. Wise call from the Papis to just back up. That 1,500 gold at this stage of the game, not really worth a lot. It's only a matter of trying to end the game a little bit quicker if you can win another team fight that you want to push down that tier 2, but not worth losing the game over in that scenario.
So 43 minutes in, still no Phoenixes down. Phoenix is a lot trickier these days, aggro, and that's one of the reasons why we don't see as many sieges on them or clean sweeps, because the old days, you get 1 Phoenix and the game's pretty much in the bag.
Now you have to fight tooth and nail for every single Phoenix. They are so tanky, and as we mentioned, with the more late game gods being selected, you know, you're always worried about a Janus one-shotting you now at 43 minutes during a Phoenix siege.
We mentioned his build too. He's now finished up his relics finally as he upgrades his Aegis 2 to go alongside it. And still no power potion just yet. He may have just popped it. I don't think he has it just yet. Like we said though, very expensive build. Greedy, but it's paying off.
It certainly has, because now when you hit this 43-minute late game sort of build, he does have a purple potion as well. You're going to be really, really effective with this sort of build. You've got plenty of penetration. You've got plenty of power. You've got plenty of CDR as well. It's literally everything a Janus could ever want.
And talking about penetration, Warchi did end up selling off that Poison Star now, it seems. Went for the Titan's Bane instead. Obviously, Titan's Bane, fantastic at reducing and dealing damage to towers and Phoenixes, and tanky targets too.
Every time crit starts to come back, you kind of realize that you're like, yes, I can two-shot the enemy hunter. I can two-shot the enemy mage. And then you realize that if you are hitting the enemy backline, you probably already won the fight. You need something to punch through the frontline defense of characters like Geb and Erlang Shen.
And the Erlang Shen, talking about him, he does also have that Nemean Lion. So when you're swinging those crits at the face of that Erlang Shen, you're also taking damage for free. Obviously, Sustain comes into play and helps you out a little bit, but it still damn well hurts.
It really does. And so that Devourer's Gauntlet certainly helping in that regard, as you mentioned. Lucky that there was no Thorns for Julio, because then that really takes away your damage options in terms of putting out on Julio, because you don't have any abilities to use during that time, because Ram is just all auto attacks. That's basically all he does.
Well, I complained about Victoria's Secret looking at Basin again, but last time they did that, they got a free Fire Giant in the end, so might work out well yet again. Spudio going to head back along with FrostiaK for the time being, who still has his speed buff available. And they're just waiting for the Fire Giant to spawn once more, and that's why MrNazer is just hanging around this mid lane now, looking to clear out wards and get the correct position for potentially catch off multiple members of Victoria's Secret.
And as I mentioned, this is what you want to do as Janus in the mid to late stages, is play like an assassin. You don't want to be where your traditional mage would be in the back line throwing out abilities, because Unstable Vortex is slow, it's cumbersome, it's hard to hit, and it's easy to see coming. Instead, you have to surprise people. You have to throw us through space and timeout. You got to appear behind them and clap them and then get out with a portal. That's how you got to play Janus in the late stages. I've really liked MrNazer's positioning come late game.
I am hoping, though, as time goes on, we do start to see a little bit more split push gods becoming meta again, because these sort of dances relieves pressure on both teams because they're just dancing around the fire. Eventually, you know, the Apollos coming through potentially, or the Athenas even from the solo lane could just like split push a little bit, cause a couple of problems for the opposition to be able to defend it, especially when solo laners aren't always taking teleport anymore.
And Bastet could become good again. Nuwa, though, you don't really want to be split pushing as Nuwa, as Dheylo right into the front line, dealing with Julio and LanceWolf, and no one takes any damage at all.
Nope, not for the time being. Nope, the damage dealers weren't really involved. That's the reason. Nowadays, these tanks in the late game, yeah, they're tanky, but the damage output isn't the same as it once was in the early stages. Victoria's Secret starting up the Fire Giant here. Won't be happy to see that happening against, but twice, Spudio? Okay, we're going to have to talk about that one. You better run away bravely. That has just changed this fight for the Papis, but I don't think the Papis really knew what was going on there, because if they did, they'd be all in. Instead, it's Frosty that's going in yet again.
Warchi, this time, he's putting the crits down on a FrostiaK, up into the sky, snipes, coming through, needs that last one to hit, but not enough.
Not enough damage to bring him down, and still FrostiaK running for his life, juking through the speed buffer straight towards Nazer, who uses the Aegis. Unstable Vortex not needed, just a basic will pick it up for Nazer, and Spudio somehow, who had like 7 health after the Fire Giant, kills Warchi.
Creed finds Stefan though, and now Draco gets tossed right into the clutches of Spudio. Dheylo, about half HP, but no ultimate, still has his shell. That's the only relic available on either side, except for Warchi's Aegis, which he never really got a chance to use.
I think LanceWolf, for me, has probably been the one standout in Victoria's Secret, like sneakily standing out with this amount of survival of his team. Because if your team's surviving that long, you generally end up looking towards the support for how long they damn well survived, and the shells and the shields really coming up big.
And Julio as well. The frontliners both for Victoria's Secret have definitely done their job in this one, keeping Warchi at bay, trying to keep Spudio alive. And you're right, by the way, if Spudio only gets knocked up by even one of those, let alone neither, then he can put enough damage in. That Fire Giant got dropped with 2k health left. That's really close to Final Judgment secure range. We're talking 300 damage away from being able to secure that with Final Judgment. Victoria's Secret dropped the objective because of a bad tank from Spudio.
Well, Papis don't really have much damage on this Portal Demon right now with just MrNazer and Dracomarino doing it. It'll take them a while, but they've got a good front line in Dheylo and Creed, and this is where the issue is their front line's so good. They're relying too much on Warchi to actually take objectives, it feels.
I mean, whenever you've got a Janus, he's not the best in terms of objective burn. It's kind of what you expect. You're not looking to insta-kill these objectives if Warchi isn't there.
Well, that's why you're looking for an assassin sometimes too, because they can help in both situations where required, and that's what the downside of Warriors can be. Creed versus Julio, dueling away as Frosty blinks in, looking at Warchi yet again. He's back in the fight, and he's back out of the fight one more time. Space and time didn't really do much that time from Nazer, as FrostiaK going to zone him away from the fight. Dheylo trying to get to that portal as best he can, but the knock-up and the damage coming out from Mr. Stefan sets up Spudio for another kill. Creed now barreling down the mid lane, just looking to buy time and get away, but it looks like Victoria's Secret, the rest of the team of Victoria's Secret, are going to head down mid and backdoor this Phoenix.
Warchi is going to hear the sound of Fear No Evil going off in his sleep every night for the next week, because FrostiaK has just made his life impossible to deal with. Had Aegis that time, but beautiful CC chain from Julio, recognizing that he wasn't taking any damage, yes, but could still be CC, taunt into knock-up, into damage coming out of Spudio. Spelled another death for Warchi.
And this is beautiful from Victoria's Secret, because the decision-making there to go for the Phoenix, now fall back to the Fire Giant, puts pressure on the Papis. You can't defend the mid lane and the Fire Giant at the same time, and if you do, well, you're going to have to rely on MrNazer turning up late to this fight with a big old ultimate, which haven't always connected. I know he's looking for the big time, and that's what you do with Janus. This time around, though, it's not really working out.
This time, it's LanceWolf taking up the Fire Giant. Through space of time almost stole that. That was really close. Yeah, very good by MrNazer, but the third Fire Giant of the game for Victoria's Secret. When was the last time we saw 4 Fire Giants go down in one game?
I think this will be standard. At least for the start of this meta in this split, it seems, because they'll get everybody starts to be on the same page now. The late game seems to be where it's at. So the gods will go more late game. That's why we're starting to see things like more Morrigan bans will be starting to come through too. Hells. I wonder if we'll see Jablonke's eventually, because Jablonke's like one of the latest game gods you could ever ask for.
Surprised no Ao Kuang. Ao Kuang is one that I'm really expecting and didn't get banned or picked here in the first 2 games. Just really, really potent right now out of that jungle.
Well, straight to the left-hand side, go Victoria's Secret now. Mr. Stefan on the right, just clearing out a couple of minions first of all, before he probably groups up with his team. The left-hand Phoenix, the obvious choice in this situation, furthest away from the Fire Giant, most tricky to defend at the same time as defend potential aggression around the Fire Giant pit.
Julio trying to chase down Dheylo. Looks like Dheylo the one to pick up that red buff. MrNazer could really use it, though. I mean, Warchi's been the one getting it in these late-game scenarios, but Warchi has been the focus too many times for me to feel comfortable with him taking that red buff now. MrNazer survived for the most part in these last few team fights. Try and give it to him so that he can one-shot someone.
And look at the wave clear that's having to come out. It's Dracomarino alone, pretty much, that can clear this wave. Creed and Dheylo could step up, but they'll get poked a little bit. And Warchi, the moment he steps further forward than behind his Phoenix right now, he's going to be all in yet again.
Yeah, he's got, again, just has to wait until FrostiaK is either A, in combat, or B, uses Fear No Evil. I doubt FrostiaK going to be using Fear No Evil on anyone except for Warchi at this stage because it's been so successful, but Warchi just has to play this patient.
LanceWolf tanking up the Phoenix as the minions come in. Dracomarino has to double dash to clear out the wave just a little bit. Spudio just sending in cold air for a second, looking for an opportunity. Creed and Dheylo really thinking about aggressing eventually, especially if the trio at the back of Victoria's Secret, they're all grouped together.
Very, very scary stuff here for the Papis. They know they're one bad team fight away from taking the first L here. Burrito was able to defend their SPL spot in the first game. They got their first victory. Papis, they've got Burrito next, and those SPL versus SPL matchups in these relegations always are very, very important.
Well, some of this from the Papis is their own doing. They're not out of it just yet, as the Phoenix is still on full health. Tell a lie, look at Spudio swinging away, and Papis have to go in, and they do so. Looking for Stefan as Warchi focused down by FrostiaK yet again. Warchi's still alive, but Julio's on him, and Julio says, no, Warchi, you will not be in this fight. Dheylo on the backside was keeping them all busy, and he's forced out of the fight too. Main thing is the Phoenix is still alive.
For the moment, but look at how healthy the front line is still from Victoria's Secret. Stefan and FrostiaK are low, but everyone else completely full.
MrNazer was just looking for a cheeky pop at Stefan in the back off. FrostiaK coming through. He's going to come in again, looking for the unstable vortex, and will not find it on Spudio yet again. The Phoenix falls down, and Victoria's Secret claim their second of the game and immediately fall back to their own half of the map.
Ooh, another Phoenix down. Papis only have one left, at least for the moment. Mid-Phoenix due to respawn very, very shortly here. And this is a 53-minute game with 2 mages that can insta-kill a squishy at any stage now.
But neither of them have actually done it yet.
No.
That's the thing. 50 minutes in, we've still not seen that happen. One is all it takes. One is all it takes. But it has to happen, first of all, and it's just not.
It hasn't happened yet. Mr. Stefan has really looked for frontliners to clean up these fights with that final judgment, hitting Dheylo as he's running away, things of that nature. FrostiaK's been the one who's been deleting people. He's been the one right on top of Warchi. And Warchi that time beads and then just tried to turn the fight onto FrostiaK. It's risky to go for that line of play because if Frosty realizes that Warchi isn't Aegising as well, you can just try and trade out. You're already starting the fight. Yeah, Warchi's got some lifesteal, but FrostiaK starts that fight doubling his health with 1 crit. Basically.
And what FrostiaK has basically done this game, he's shown how good he is at reading team fights and when to fight. He's playing a frontliner, an engager for the team, and his decision-making on engagements has been solid this game. Performance outside of that hasn't been spectacular, but if you're doing what you need to in the late game, like find Warchi in the back, you're having a good day.
I don't know how many times it needs to happen before they realize that this is the problem, and the Papis just has not found an answer to stopping FrostiaK. Spudio finds Dracomarino now. Mid-Phoenix gonna fall for the second time this game.
This could be
Victoria's Secret could just end it right here.
Well, it's only MrNazer, Dheylo, and Creed left to stand, and the 2 frontliners doing work. Unstable vortex.
Oh, there
misses,
it is!
But I tell you who doesn't. Mr. Stefan removes Nazer from the map.
We were asking for it, and Mr. Stefan delivers. Finally, Victoria's Secret ended 15-13. The Papis ended up with more kills, but no victory.
54 minutes as well on the clock, so we're getting longer, and the Papis now slip to 0-1, which basically means they have to find the next 2. If they don't find the next 2, they're more than likely going out.
Yeah, and Burrito, remember, that's their matchup next up, and that's the 2 SPL teams, the 2 teams that you expect to have the advantage, but only one's going to be able to come out with a victory.
Well, in that game, though, I think we can definitely look back at that Skadi. Eventually, Spudio came into play. He was 0-2 at the start of this game. He was also levels down to Warchi. Ended the game, well, I should say, he got to a point, he hit level 20 before Warchi and was farming a lot better towards the mid to late stages, but that's kind of what happens with Hunters anyway.
And he was his front line, and FrostiaK did such a good job of making it so he never really felt any pressure at all in these late game team fights. Very rarely. This is what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
it was Spudio actually just 3 autos.
Hey.
Warchi, I mean, you've got the crit, you've got the lifesteal. That should be in Warchi's favor.
But you've got to hit.
When you miss 3 and the enemy hunter hits 3, you're never going to win that fight.
And look how far back he's playing in this fight. You saw those walls from Dracomarino crushed in front of him. He was always at the right position where he could be. Obviously, a lot of credit to the front line who's protecting the whole way here, but he knows when to come in and come out every single time. Spudio looked pretty good there.
His late game positioning in the team fight was really, really excellent. And again, a lot of credit, as you mentioned, goes to that front line. Where is the Geb? Always right next to him. Where is Julio? Always making it life difficult for everyone else in the back line. FrostiaK's already killed Warchi by the time we've reached the point in the conversation in this team fight. Spudio gets to just stand in the back and throw out autos, but at the end of the day, you got to hit him, and you got to know where to be, and he did both of those things.
Well, everybody's played one game so far. Let's have a look at the standings. Obviously, 2 teams are winning, 2 teams are currently losing. Victoria's Secret and Burrito top of the shop. New Game Plus, Papis, different story.
Tough start for New Game Plus and the Papis, 2 of the teams that I think a lot of people were favoring to move on in this Relegations. They both start out 0-1, so they've got quite the hill to climb here today.
Well, next up is going to be Burrito versus the Papis. Papis, they need this win. Burrito, they win this, they're probably going back to the SPL, no questions asked. Papis lose this, they're probably going back to the Challenger circuit once more. We'll find out after the break when we're back.
Wouldn't let you go if we're standing miles apart. I'd be a domino, I will let you know through vibrations of